Okay, today in the studio, we have a renowned fitness and lifestyle expert. His success has been featured in The Perfect Fit, The Art of Building Bodies, Cosmetic Innovations, City News serials on health and fitness, and also has featured articles in Sway Magazine, The Condo Guide, New Dream Homes and Condo Magazine, and Snap Newspaper. Please welcome Brent Bishop.
How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Good. Well, you have been a leading force in the fitness industry for over 12 years now. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started in fitness and why?
Well, I've always been very active in sports growing up. I guess it really came into my university degree. I started out in criminology and got bored with that and went into psychology and then kinesiology. From there, I've always, loved biomechanics and those aspects of sports. After attaining my degree, I basically got right into the personal training industry, knowing that was what I wanted to do.
Some of your career highlights as a trainer include working with Olympian Silken Lawman, former San Francisco quarterback Jeff Garcia, along with various television and radio personalities. What type of training and conditioning do you perform with them?
I'd say the main differences between those people is mental state.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I mean, you have pro athletes that are looking for, I guess, primary goal would be more performance related, where you have a actor or a radio personality. A lot of times it's more aesthetically based. So yes, those are main differences in terms of the program approach. For the pro athlete, we're looking at breaking down some of the movement patterns of their sport and making sure that we're helping them to attain that goal of raising the bar in performance.
Right.
Whereas an actor, typically, if it's for a specific movie or television series, they have to have a certain body type and look a certain way.
They have to look the part.
So it's more of a compressed program that's we have to get you from point A to point B in this time. Boom, let's do it. It's about really taking them on a very drastic change for a short period of time.
Right. Now, you were talking about, your double major, kinesiology and psychology.
Mm-hmm.
How much, I know that when you train, and especially with an athlete, a lot of, we did one segment on neurobics, which basically is working out the mind. What role do you feel mind training plays in fitness?
With fitness, I believe fitness and health are about 80% mental. So I think it applies to an extremely large role. The creation of the system that we utilize at Think Fitness, the performance continuum paradigm, is based off of psychology, which I'm a co-founder for that paradigm, and it's geared towards a gradual progression and taking people from one mental state to another mental state as they attain their goals and achieve what they're coming to achieve. And a lot of times people come in with one mindset or one type of attitude towards fitness.
Right.
And of course, the rewarding thing is when they completely change that and you see a different personality and they're running marathons, they're doing all these things that they never thought they were capable of.
Actually, that's one of the reasons why you're sitting here in the studio. I had the great opportunity to come by Think Fitness over in Bloor West there, and what struck me was, first, the name I thought was great, because I really feel like when you're training, you really do have to rethink your approach on fitness and working out. And what you just mentioned, that, a client might come to you with what they think is their goal, and hopefully as a trainer and as a coach, you guide them through that goal and on to another one and have that progressively develop as you go through. So when I was at your studio and saw the photos of some of the great, outdoor activities, you had snowshoeing, you had just a bunch of day trips, and the whole concept of leaving your comfort zone in a physical sense, and you take someone from the corporate world and you pop them, out into an adventure sport, how does that benefit them in a lifestyle sense?
The paradigm itself lays on the basis of using the physical and your physical health as the vehicle to create success in all these other areas, mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually. So if you have your physical health, of course, your ability to do more is there. Your relationships are better. You're more confident.
Right.
You get more work done in fewer hours. You rest better.
Right.
The natural crossover effect is endless. So with these corporate clients, quite often they see significant changes in their personal and work life.
Right.
And truly, that's where the success comes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How would you describe the style of training that you have at Think Fitness, and what do you look for in a great employee at Think Fitness? Because I saw some very diverse things going on there.
The style of training quite often is, we do a lot of non-conventional training, whether we're bringing, the tires into the gym or taking people outside in the parking lot or in parks. But it's still very personalized. So as opposed to a big group boot camp, it's very hands-on and it's tailored towards that specific client's goals, needs, areas of concern or injuries, and even as important as interests. What are they interested in? If they're interested in tennis, well, why can't we incorporate some of that into their program?
Right.
Those aspects or that style or approach to training really creates that passion and that momentum into a meaningful program. So, of course, program adherence is there, results are better. and the client makes transformational changes.
Right. With so many like gyms opening up, expanding, there's more and more small studios popping up everywhere. Why do you feel that our obesity epidemic is rising almost at the same level, if not faster, if all these options are out there? Nowadays,
technology, education, just educating people and children specifically, and having more of these programs in the schools and that really promote fitness and health,
right,
and variety of different aspects of fitness and health is important. Other things, I mean, we always tell people that you have to take a look at the internal and external factors that play on our decision-making processes as in today's society. I mean, you're bombarded with all these magazines of the perfect body and
right,
television on the money and the fame and how everything's supposed to be, and a lot of that does play a role on inhibiting people from starting a program if they're already out of shape.
Right.
Or, a lot of things are seen as almost unattainable. So I find that a lot of people that come in, they may be a little bit shy to come into that type of a workout environment to start with.
Right.
Because they think it's unattainable for them and they lack the intrinsic motivation to allow them to take that step out of their comfort zone. So, I mean, I think that's one aspect of it. And then you have the other aspect when you're talking about personal training and some of the other the levels of training that require a little higher income.
Right.
That can be a detriment to some people having, a really focused individual program. We try to actually create a lot of options for everybody to take part. We have the personal training, but we also, our premise is basically that everybody is entitled to health and fitness. And so we try to create options, whether it's, having a weekend drop-in, a complimentary drop-in, or a $5 class
right,
that the whole community can take part in, or doing these events for charity and taking part in the community.
I did see on your website there that you did have some options, like it's not, because your studio is predominantly one-on-one training, correct?
Yeah,
so you're not going to, because so many times, I don't know how many times I've heard this, both, in listeners emailing in or just, on the street, someone saying, yeah, I've had a membership now for 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. I don't go. But I have the membership, and I think that they almost find that it's acceptable that they sort of check that off their list, on their New Year's resolutions list of joining a gym, but then don't utilize it. So, the option is, you can spend, $300, $400, $500 a year on a membership you don't use, or you can invest that
Absolutely.
in, even a starter package of training. And like you said, you have the options of tapping into group sessions and then these outings that you could so easily spend that on a weekend out with your friends. So,
Absolutely. Again, it comes down to mindset, and it comes down to, let's face it, human nature. We all make excuses and we all have justifications.
Right.
That's a part of it for many people as well. You find people that come in and they have that mindset of, well, I've had a gym membership for 2 years and I've gone, I can count on my hand how many times I've gone.
Right.
Why not use that money to invest, at least to kickstart it, to jumpstart where jumpstart you into a program that's going to work for you.
Right. So where would you start with an individual like that? Someone who comes into you and says, okay, I know that I need the guidance now. I do need a coach. What would you say are the 3 main excuses someone walks in with, that the reasons why they're not at their fitness goal right now?
Number one, that's the perfect client, because it's somebody who's ready and they're looking and they're open. The 3 main excuses, I would say, one is time.
Right.
The other one is, let's say, if they have an injury or something that they use it to their, to the maximum that
sprained ankle from high school 20 years ago.
Absolutely. There's a variety of things like that. The third thing I would say is just lacking the motivation and getting to a point in their life where, why try? But it's the ideal situation, because somebody like that can make dramatic changes because they're starting at a little bit of a lower level.
Right.
It's once you make those subtle changes in your training schedule or in your weekly routines, physically, mentally, everything starts to go out from there, and that's where you attain true results.
Okay. Yeah. So where would you then, in a physical sense and in a mindset sense, what are the 2 sort of attack areas that you would go at first for someone who's ready for this change? Yep. For those listeners out there who are listening to us right now who go, you know what, Brent, I'm one of those people. I've had it. I want to get in shape. What's one main mental habit that they should break and make better, and one physical habit?
One habit that is mental related is reflective goal setting.
Okay.
So, reflective in a sense that reflect back, maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year, what are you doing, or what is preventing you, and try to find out, think to yourself, what are those obstacles? What are the poor habits that I have? And a lot of times this is where people need assistance.
Right.
And what's one thing I can start to change, and then go with that.
Right.
Goal setting is huge.
Yes.
And having the motivation comes from the passion of what you're doing. So if you have a program or something that's very interesting to what you want to attain, like if there was a sport that you played when you were a kid and you've always wanted to play but you're not in shape anymore,
right.
Well, why can't you start to incorporate some of that and bring that spark, bring that fire back into your program?
And that's one of the things you also tap into at Think Fitness. Was I did see some coverage actually on your website. I think it's thinkfitnessstudios.com. Is that the website?
Okay. Thinkfitnessstudios.com.
And if you check that out, you have some really cool video clips there of some of the challenges you took these people out on, and some of the pictures I saw were was a mud run or something, and it was just what was that about?
That's something we take part in, and we sponsor that next year. It's exactly what it says. It's a mud run, so it's there's a 5K level. There's some it's more of a fun based event where you don't get a lot of people trying to break a record or anything like that. But you can go with teams or you can go as solo, and it involves running through, crossing a river, going up a mud wall.
Right.
At the very end, you go through a massive mud pit, and that's where you saw the pictures of everybody kind of diving over each other.
Right.
But like everything, if it's fun,
that's just it.
That's the key. It's got to be fun. It's got to be exciting.
There wasn't anyone in the photos who didn't have a smile on their face.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times in the gym, I see people who are just so afraid. That's the paralyzed look of fear on their face that they're going to look stupid. They're not going to do it right. Someone with more experience is going to judge them. And I think that is key. Is what you're saying with a trainer. Is that's sort of like that's your guide and your coach to go, you know what, you're doing it right, and just that reassurance.
Absolutely.
And then also just breaking out of that comfort zone and laughing at yourself. That if you've never done it before, of course you're gonna, you're not going to do it perfect, but it's not about perfection. It's about, like you said, setting those goals and going after them. Yeah,
fear is one of the biggest determinants of preventing somebody from going further.
Right.
And so that's something that we try to expose people to in small increments, whatever they're comfortable with, because everybody's different.
So how would you go about exposing someone's fear in a comfortable way?
Well,
as a trainer?
It depends what their fear is, number one. But when they've gone through, everyone goes through an initial consultation.
Yes.
So, we sit down for about 45 minutes to an hour, and we thoroughly go over things.
Right.
We have our promises and expectations, like what we promise as a company, as a team, and what we expect from the client. An expectation from the client is you have to show up ready physically and mentally.
Yes.
So, you're coming to us for the service. You can't show up and just say you have a trainer and go through the motions. You have to be there mentally as well, just as much as physically, if not more.
Right.
On the promise side, we promise to take people outside of their comfort zone.
Right.
We promise to provide a safe, highly effective training methods through a team of, we all have kinesiology, exercise science background, so it's what everyone does for profession.
Right.
Those are some of the promises that we provide, and we promise to be very realistic with the goals that the client is coming to us in terms of attaining the goals.
Right. And what happens if either one of you don't hold up that side of the bargain?
We're on it right away. So accountability is very, very important with the team, of course.
Absolutely.
And we do that with each other, and then also with the client. So if the client is coming, into the studio and you can tell they're not really going through the motions, you're not being you don't be cruel or mean on the way you bring the accountability, but you you reset those goals. You say, okay, remember the goals that we have. The client says yes. And, this is. Do you remember the discussion we had? This is what we have to do in order to achieve it. And a lot of times, you don't really have that problem if you have a program that is, that the client is very interested
engaged in. Yeah.
And then once they've achieved that goal, then it's all about what's next.
Right.
So it is a progression. Our system is a quarterly progression, so they do a full functional fitness evaluation every quarter.
Right.
So everybody is in at different levels, and clients coming in understand that they're going to be treated from their level, and their program progression is going to be that's going to be taken in consideration.
Right. Right.
And I think that's important, so you don't damage somebody's their eagerness and their willingness, and all of a sudden you put them in a situation where they can't succeed. That's not a good thing.
Right.
So it's all about progression.
One really interesting thing, Performance Continuum Inc. You actually started working with condominium developers on the layout of their fitness facilities. And some of these new condos in Toronto, like,
they're pretty extravagant.
They're extravagant. Yeah. How did that come about, like in a consultation sense?
It started from training a developer and then actually a couple developers. And,
right.
And, the idea of you have these great facilities, and especially now, and at the time, actually, Toronto was one of the highest condominium developments in North America, actually.
Wow.
So you have this situation where you have these weight rooms and gyms and condos, and they hardly get used. The percentages of people that use it was just unbelievable to me. So why not motivate people to get down there, have on-site events, have events that bring different condominiums together and create that community, or that 21st century
right.
Of condo living, and that's sort of where it snowballed off of, and it was great. We steered more towards the individual sites, and the reason for that is getting people more out of their comfort zone, getting them to come to you,
right.
And then you've seen the studio, so it's
yes.
created in a way that's very performance inspired,
right?
So it's unique in terms of the setup for a reason,
right?
And we're unable to do that in the condominiums. You have residents working out in there. You have some people want to watch TV, some people want to listen to the music, and you have those situations as well. So we found that centralizing is the best way, and then we have our events are excursions. Our events are on site, out of country. They're
right.
basically that approach.
And it does actually create more of that like camaraderie feeling, like you're
absolutely.
going to your membership club as opposed to, like you said, watching TV next to the person beside you who happens to live in your building, but you've never seen them before and probably don't even know their name. Where everyone in your studio was very interactive with each other.
Absolutely.
Clients met their clients, and it was very motivating just to watch. So. What are some key things that you could help a person reveal in motivating themselves? So, like, some are motivated, like you said, by competition. Mm-hmm. Others are motivated by having an external event that they have to, How can someone self-motivate themselves for the time that they're not with you as the trainer? So when they're not at Think Fitness, if they do have to go down to their condo gym and do cardio minutes that are part of their homework, how can someone stay motivated?
So this is somebody who's already receiving training.
Yeah.
Well, there's a difference between training and coaching, first of all, and I think you asked a question about the what's the ideal employee or something along that line.
Yes.
It's somebody who can lead and somebody who can coach people. So when a client's out on their own going for a run, they hear that voice,
right?
Or they remember what the individual had said to them. And then aside from that, we create diagrammatic programs based off of their functional fitness evaluation and their overall training sessions.
Okay.
That is kind of a take-home. So they can either come into the studio and use that, or they use that at home. Now, the important thing is the follow-up and the accountability.
Yes.
Asking them, did you complete it? One of the expectations is honesty. Did you do the program on Wednesday? No, I didn't. Why not? Let's get it done on Thursday.
Right.
So making sure that you're on them. So if somebody, if you tell me that you're going to do something and you don't,
right.
It's also an integrity thing. You kind of feel, I should have done that, or
right.
And they have an understanding that the consistency is what's also going to get them the results.
Right.
So programs that we would provide for outside the studio are programs that should be simple. Simple to administer and motivating.
Right.
Exercises that they do enjoy. Then the whole picture comes. It's that whole big picture. It falls in line with the training sessions.
It becomes a lifestyle then at that point.
Absolutely.
Now, I did read also online and just in listening to you, you explain that at Think Fitness, it's a transformational experience. And some of the testimonies on your site, clients have said that you have transformed their life. Mm-hmm. How can someone who is new to fitness or has fallen off the bandwagon, quote unquote, motivate themselves to chip away at that transformational experience?
A lot of it's awareness. Where are they at at that point? Are they aware of their obstacles? So creating through the consultation process, bringing about the awareness of those those internal and external factors that I alluded to. what is guiding their decision-making processes? What's preventing them?
Right.
Are they hanging out with, you mentioned the drinking. Are they hanging out in places where that's what they're doing all the time?
Right.
Maybe they need to start to change some of those aspects of their lifestyle.
Right.
A lot of times the discussion in the beginning is associated around those aspects.
Right.
And then once you can determine the obstacles, you can move forward, because then you can start to create a plan of, okay, how do I get over that obstacle? We have a quarterly system called the 4 C's. So when somebody comes in, it's called the core, cardiovascular, consumption, and challenge. So those are the 4 main aspects of a very effective training program. So when they come in, we're talking about core, your abdominals, your low back, obliques, but we're also talking about your mental core. Where are you mentally in relation to how you think about fitness?
Right.
And that's our job, is to change the way you think about fitness so it works for you.
Right. How can you plant the seed of rethinking the way you think about fitness?
It's different for every person.
Right.
But the essential aspect of it is, I guess, going back to the awareness. Why are you here?
Right.
And a lot of times people don't know why they're here. So you have to coach them through it. You have to bring, and it doesn't happen necessarily in that one sitting.
Right.
So the more the relationship builds with the client, you get to know more about them, and then you can kind of get an idea of, okay, I can see why it may be tough for them to work out on a regular basis. Or,
right.
You find out new things. They have 3 kids. They have all these things going on. So as a coach, you try to come up with solutions. And a lot of course, on the training side, you're helping to get them physically fit, so they feel better about themselves, so they can make better decisions, so they can, why do I want to sabotage all the hard work I've been doing when I've been working so hard in the gym?
Now, do you believe in journaling when it comes to consumption?
Absolutely.
And also just sort of tracking, like you said, your goals and the reason behind those goals?
Yeah, what's your goal, but why is that your goal?
Right.
I mean, people have all these elaborate goals, but why? What's the true reason for that goal? So journaling is very, very effective, because journaling allows you to reflect. And if you're journaling and then you're reading and looking back, and it's amazing the progression that you can even see,
right?
Over the course of a couple of weeks or a month. And
of just the language change.
The language change, the attitude. I mean, it's unbelievable. And a lot of times people will share their journaling or share their at least their nutrition logs and maybe a comment of how they're feeling, and then you bring that back to them down the road and like, remember when you first came in? Look what you were saying on this,
right?
And they're completely different at that point.
What do you feel are 3 things someone should incorporate into their daily routine to improve their overall health and fitness?
Take some self-time.
Okay.
I'm a big believer first thing in the morning. It's different for different people, but take 20 minutes or half an hour, whatever you have for time, 5 minutes, and meditate, or, just that's a good time to write down some things, journal. Take that time, because it's very powerful when it's consistent, especially if you're journaling. I would say that's one for a healthy mind. Right. Another one, I would say, eat every 2 to 3 hours.
Yes.
Right. Healthy.
Yes.
And drink. Drink water. Drink 8 glasses a day. Very important. And then seek professional help. Like if you have. If nutrition's a problem, just see a nutritionist. If your fitness is a problem and you can't get started and you lack that motivation, by all means, seek out somebody that is a professional in that area.
Okay, so what are the top 3 things someone can do to change the way they think about working out?
Variety is the key to absolutely anything in life. So if you can get out there and...
I like that.
All these... No, it really is.
It really is.
Because it opens your mind. I mean, it's like traveling. If you travel to different countries and you see different cultures, it's amazing how much you learn.
Right.
It's almost more than sitting... It's more than sitting at a desk and studying in school, right?
Right.
So my suggestion would be to sample some things. A lot of places have free classes, a trial class, or even trial intro training session. You sample around. Do your research, sample around, check for qualifications as well.
Right.
I mean, there's a variety of different levels of qualifications out there in the personal training and fitness world. But, try something new. Another good thing I would suggest is grab a partner.
Right.
Especially if it's somebody who's a little bit intimidated about going into a gym.
Right.
Make it an event. This weekend, let's go into, a couple gyms and just see what they have.
Test drive.
Yeah, test drive.
Right.
You test drive cars. You don't go and just buy a car.
Right.
Test drive your trainer, test drive your a class.
Because you can do that, right? You can go into Think Fitness and
you can to Think Fitness.
Try.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and it's important because it has to be a good match for you too, right?
Right. And the same thing with your nutrition as well. If you constantly go on a quote unquote diet, you're bound to go off of it. Whereas if you have, a choice to eat healthy and expand into, I often recommend take a cooking class.
Yeah,
so that you can
idea.
learn how to make healthy food taste good, as opposed to going, well, I'm on a diet, so I can only eat lettuce and chicken breast.
Boring.
It's so boring. So
life shouldn't be boring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you know what? Thank you so much for getting all of our listeners out there to think fitliciously. And if anyone has any questions, they log on to
www.thinkfitnessstudios.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Fred.
Thank you.
Cheers.
All right.
Okay, today in the studio.